Good evening, good evening. You know what our custom is, so we'll give it a couple of moments to let people know we are present and accounted for. Excuse me. Share this out, hit the share button, tag people in it on your page you think might benefit from it. And by the way, just like last week where we focused on singles, this is not to exclude singles. It didn't exclude the married last week, and it should not, hopefully, be exclusive, feel as if it's going to exclude singles, especially those who are considering or reconsidering getting married. So hopefully you will join in with us. We'll kick off in a minute. I know it's sending out that notification I usually like to get when I do a live broadcast a couple of minutes early. As I know people, once they get the notification, it takes a minute to respond. So we'll kick off in just a few. I'm trying to see if it'll come up. I'm not sure why it hasn't. That's peculiar, to say the least. So I can possibly read your comments better on a laptop, but it's not. Hopefully I'm broadcasting here. And I'm just gonna, it's 9 o'clock, but let me just check something. And I use this cell phone for a couple of different accounts. Yeah, okay. I don't know why it's showing here but not showing there. All right, you know me. I like to get into it. People come on and bounce on and off as they do. So I'm not going to delay any longer. Let's get rolling here. We've been dealing with men and women in community. I won't go all the way back now, 4 weeks, to bring you forward. But essentially, we've been dealing with men and women as of course, the two categories of human, and we've looked at how they interact in community. We started very general, and we've come down. Last week we dealt with singles, and now this week it only makes sense to deal with those who classify themselves as in a relationship, long-term relationship. And I don't normally give much energy and attention to those in long-term exclusive relationships. I'm going to do my best to do that tonight. And I'll make some comments along those lines. But ultimately, obviously, marriage would be the particular long-term exclusive relationship that will get most of the attention. I'll just tell you right up front, it's going to get most of the attention. I say this every week just because because of what I do for a living, have conversations with individuals about whatever they're dealing with. And I talk about relationships and finances and raising children and all kind of subjects. And some of those subjects we've addressed on Thursdays. So I have to give my standard. I'm not referring to anyone specifically. I'll typically, when I want to get very specific, we'll talk about me. I have been married before. I've said this openly right here on Facebook. I've been married 3 times. So I think I can speak on the subject. I have some history, and most of my adult life has been spent in a marriage. So I have a substantial enough history. My single life has been pretty short in comparison, 5.5 years. And if you kind of bring it all together, it probably totals about 6 years in total. Of almost 30 years. Wow, nearly 30 years out of high school. So 6 in 30 have been spent as a single man, and the other, 24, nearly 30 years, not quite, 28 in fact. But most of that has been spent, so 22 of those years has been spent in a marital situation. So I understand I have some background in marriage. and long-term exclusive. And I didn't do a whole lot of long-term dating and engagements and all of that. So I won't speak too much on those things. Not that they have to have a personal history to be able to do so. I do talk with people and I learn and pick up things. So that being said, let's dive in to this. Now, I will admit that one of the reasons why I don't say much about marriage is not because I've gone through divorce, but because what I've learned is marriage in community, in society, is often very protected. And I can't honestly tell you why, but my experience tells me, particularly being in ministry for almost 3 decades, is that marriage is one of those things that not just the people within the marriage, but just in a community, it's mind your business when it comes to a marriage. I can go way back here. I'm going to try not to do that, but I came along affiliated with the religion known to most as holiness, but I know it as Churches of God in Christ, or COGIC. And even watching my father at a distance, if you will, addressing people who were having marital discord, as much as I could understand, with him and my mother, who've been together 50 years. And of course, even when I came into the married world at 19, engaged at 18, married at 19 years old, I learned pretty quickly. I've never talked about it openly. As a matter of fact, for the reason why I'm starting with this. Marriage is kind of almost a taboo subject unless you're talking favorably. Having children. Once upon a time, you could use certain terminology. I'm not going to do it tonight. I'm not afraid to use it, but I won't use it tonight because it's not our subject. There were certain terms for a child born out of wedlock. Again, won't get into that. But political correctness, you don't use the term. Somehow that term being spoken even among adults would get back to the child somehow, some way. And, I think it became excuses for not being as upfront about things. So coming along, and particularly when I got married fairly young, engaged again at 18 and just a little over 6 months later married at 19, the reality of it is, no matter how much discord was going on, even in my own situation, there was very few who wanted to touch it. And I was 27 years ago. I was 27 years. Like I said, most of my adult life has been spent in a marriage. So 27 years ago, just barely out of high school, a year out of high school, I'm married. And irregardless to very real, very tangible, very overt discord, it got all out into the community. Very few people, including my parents, wanted to touch it. Very few wanted to say anything about it. Very few wanted to address it. Very few. And I'll be honest, in my opinion, it hasn't changed much. People are having marital discord. We still get that very kind of passe, cliche, just hang in there. That's not really helping, but that's what we'll say to people who are married. Unfortunately, this is why I say for singles, stay with me. Unfortunately, even when it comes to singles, because if they want to be married, they'll say to their married friends, which is not good advice at all. We really shouldn't just say anything if you don't have anything to say to the situation. Things like, well, at least you're married. Okay, they didn't come to you and say, my husband or my wife, just so they could hear, well, at least you're married. And let me just say this, since I'm in that kind of place. When a person who's struggling on their job comes to you and you may not be working, or people who are not working, don't tell them, well, at least you have a job, as a way of trying to help them cope with the issues on their job. As a person who's been on a job and was a whistleblower and got fired and went through that whole tumult, and my co-workers, one of which is on here, my ex-co-workers, one of which is on my page, if he was on here, he would tell you, if he was listening at this point, he would tell you it was very difficult. And we weren't struggling as if to say, well, we got a job, so we'll just take whatever we're going through. But God, no. There were people who were seeing psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever the case may be, who had prescribed medication, couldn't sleep. There were some very heavy, serious situations going on. And the last thing you want to hear when you're on a job that's whooping your natural behind, well, at least you have a job, as if that's going to help you to cope with what could be all detrimental to your health. Excuse me. The same thing goes for somebody in a long-term exclusive relationship, in particular, a marriage. No disrespect for those who may be dating somebody exclusively for 10 years, even living together, but let's just be real. You could leave that situation, and though you'll have an emotional residual, you won't have to go through the legal ramifications unless you bought a house or a car or something. That's it. But when you have to part a marriage, again, having done it, it can get sticky, especially if there's children and on and on and on. So let me just start right out the box and say, as a person who is in a position to counsel and give advice, do not say to a person who's going through marital discord, well, at least you're married, and that's supposed to be some form of counsel. That's not counsel. That's an observation. Well, I'm observing that you're married. Well, congratulations. You have won the prize. You figured out I'm in a marriage. That's why I'm talking to you, man. That's why I'm talking to you, lady. That's why I'm talking to you, my friend. I'm trying to get some understanding of how to deal with this marriage or deal with this long-term relationship. And if all you can tell me is, well, at least you're married, you're not helping me at all. And let me say to married people, hopefully there's going to be some who watch this, do not go to people when the best thing they can say to you, well, is at least you're married. Duh. If you've ever been married and gone through a divorce, you know how difficult marriage can be. It can be so difficult, in fact, some die, heart attacks, strokes, their health just completely and utterly falls apart behind the worries and concerns behind a broken marriage. So if all you could ever say is, well, at least you're married, you might want to close up and send them somewhere. Hey, you know what? Look, I would love to be married, and you know what? I may not be the best person to talk to. Well, you're my friend. Yeah, I understand, but I'm just not in a good space to be able to help. There's nothing wrong with being honest and being humble enough to say, I'm just not the person you need to talk to. Let me refer you to somebody who's married, who has been through some discord, and they can help you. There's nothing wrong with that. I do it. Even though I am a pastor and all of that, I will refer up, as we say. It's called referring up. So let me say that out the box. Again, if I don't say nothing else for the rest of this time I'm on here, let me say this again for those who are in those long-term relationships, fiance, on the verge of getting married or married. Do not go to people. Now, I don't recommend you go to single people anyway, unless they have some kind of background or on and on and on and on. But if you're going to go to someone who's single and you know that they would desperately love to be married, they may even be looking at your marriage. Let me go a little deeper now. They may have made comments about your marriage because they're on the outside thinking that your marriage is nothing but wedded bliss. That's not going to be the person you go to for counsel. That's not. Think about this. Here they think you guys are just the absolute perfect couple. So you're going to go to them and say, hey, we're not a perfect couple? Can you give me some counsel? Can you be a shoulder to cry on? No. Why? They'll be so personally devastated by the news of your marriage, they may not even be able to regain consciousness to be able to help you with anything. So, and I know that's some sobering advice, but please hear the wisdom in it. If you have some single individuals or you have people in broken marriages and they're struggling and they think your marriage is absolutely perfect, don't go to them to cry on their shoulder. No, you go to people, listen to me now, if you're married, now catch this now, I would say this in a counseling session, you go to people who are willing to be honest about the fact that they have marital discord, but they have learned ways to manage and deal with the discord. That's the best people to go to for potential counsel. Those who are willing to be open about marital discord, which happens to all, and they have learned mature ways as grown people to manage the discord and to love each other, even though they don't always like each other, to love each other. That's the best people, I would say, if you just couldn't get to a counselor or a pastor, that would be the next best thing. Like third on my list would be that kind of group or that kind of couple is a couple who's honest. No, we fight about money too. Well, how do you get through it? Well, I'm glad you asked. These are the things we do. When we, if you're a Christian, we pray and then we do. Okay, those are the couples you go to for advice. But if you got a couple who they just look perfect, and when they open their mouths, everything that comes out of their mouth sounds perfect, why are you talking to them? Because every bit of advice they're going to give you is going to be a way to try to just minimize everything. Anything that seems negative that might really need to be exposed, they're going to be more like, well, just kind of, just smile, cook some dinner together, go on a date. Well, some things in a marriage or in a long-term relationship, I want to be mindful, is not fixed by a dinner date. Gabe, did you say that out loud? Yeah, I heard myself. Listen, not everything is going to be fixed by just going on dates. Not everything's going to be fixed by cuddling on the couch. Not everything is going to be fixed by, we even going to a counselor necessarily. Not everything's going to be fixed like this. Well, man, just buy her a diamond ring. Well, just cook his favorite meal. Have a good night. I'm sure you can figure out what that means. And all is well. No, there's some real hurts. There's some real pains. There may be some things that have gone on that really didn't even have anything to do with the marriage, but has shown up in the middle. I'm going to go a little deep tonight. Stay with me now. There are some things that actually happened in previous situations or even previous relationships that didn't get dealt with and keep showing up. And it looks like it's that relationship. Now, you might have to call me directly on that, Can't get too deep into that because that can get complicated depending on the situation. But there's some who have hurts. Baggage is as many call it. I don't call it baggage. But you have brokenness and hurts from a previous situation. And you didn't fix it. Or you didn't seek counsel on how to fix it to get it fixed. And you end up getting into another relationship. And now you're all together married or you're engaged and you're knee deep now. And you think it's what he or she is doing. You think they're just being just like your ex. No, actually, it's your perception. Actually, it's the way you're seeing it. Actually, it's because you're so quick to jump to the conclusions from a previous situation. That's why you think it's just a carryover, but how could it be a carryover unless that person was the carryover from the previous situation? If you're not in the relationship with the same person, that's not a carryover unless you are the one who carried it over or they are the ones who carried it over. That's the only way it's a carryover from a previous relationship. That's the only way. Now, let me say something to those in long-term dating situations. And I'm just going to say this and I'm going to leave it and I'm going about my business. My question to you, and I've asked this directly to people, in your long-term dating situation, what's the point? I'm just asking, what's the point? Statistics will say, and I'm not going to go into all of that kind of stuff, but look it up, the difference between being in a long-term dating, quote, relationship, or even trying to live together, cohabitating, as opposed to those who are married. They do studies on all this stuff, by the way. Psychology loves this stuff. So do your research and you will find, unless it's changed and I missed it and I haven't done the research in a while, that being married is healthier than living together or even just dating exclusively. In fact, the last I heard, if a man hasn't asked you to marry him within 2 years, he's not going to ask you, probably minus an ultimatum. 2 years, last I heard. And that was a couple of years ago. It may have changed. So if a man, ladies in particular, it is healthier, even for the man, but ladies, let me speak to you. So you got this man, he's in your life. Well, Gabe, I'm the one, he wants to marry me. So again, I'm going to ask the question. I'm glad you're honest. So why don't you want to get married? Gabe, are you here to promote marriage? Yeah, if you haven't figured that out. Yeah, but you've been through divorce. Yeah, that don't mean I'm sour against marriage. I don't have an issue against marriage. The issue is Marriage and a piece of paper, by the way, as I heard, is that Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, I believe, all those many years ago on Oprah Winfrey show, talking about, yeah, we were married, but we couldn't get along. And then as soon as we divorced and just lived together, it was so much better. Okay, exception to the rule. Okay. But look, most of the time, statistically speaking, you're better off married. As well as the fact when you talk about community, remember, society and community, this nation, the United States of America, where I live, though I know people are from other countries on my channel, on my page, excuse me, the fact is the United States favors married people. It does. Or does it? And this is what I put in that write-up for this particular, and this is where I want to go with it. What I've actually discovered, and some may disagree with me, and I'm fine with that, is I don't actually think society supports marriage as much, at least as it used to. I don't. I think they support getting into relationships. Track with me for a second. This might be a little something you didn't expect, but stay with me. From what I've seen, and social media has been around, about 20, 25 years, give or take. I know it came after I left high school. So about 25 years. World Wide Web, internet was around, but the World Wide Web and therefore social media sites. I know Facebook, MySpace before that. And there's been some sites. So it's been around at least a good 20 years. At least 20. So we're not just talking about 20 years. I'm 46 going on 47. So we're not just talking about 20 years. I've been a grown man for nearly 30. The reality of it is, what I've seen is there has been a shift in society, and I could be wrong. This is just my assessment, my people watching assessment. I don't think society at large in the United States supports long-term exclusive relationships called marriage. I really don't. What I think society and the individual communities support is getting into those relationships. If you talk about online, it's the selfies. It's the we're together. It's the, I want somebody to travel with. I want somebody to cuddle with. I want somebody to you don't even hear necessarily grow old with necessarily. When I read pages as a single individual and I'm reading what women are seeking, I'm not really seeing necessarily grow old with, because what I've discovered, and I usually go about 35 and up, anybody 35 and up who's ever been married, they know the real reality that there's a chance that that relationship won't turn into a grow old together. So I don't see as many people saying grow old together. What I see people saying, I told you singles, stay with me, I want to get into a relationship, and they describe the immediate things. Somebody to travel with, that's immediate. Somebody to cuddle with, that's immediate. All of that stuff is immediate. All of it's immediate. Go out to dinner with, that's immediate. And by the way, no disrespect, it doesn't require you to be in the relationship long term. In fact, let me turn another corner quickly. Let me come right back to those in the long term, which is where I started. Let me come back and speak to those in the long-term exclusive relationships. What's your point? Because ask yourself this question. What do you mean by long-term? Till death do you part? Are you going to date each other exclusively till you die? We call that marriage. Why don't you get married? So when you say long-term, you mean 10 years? You mean 15 years? You mean 5 years? I've had people say to me, well, Gabe, how long was your longest marriage? Oh, I was in the marriage about 8 years. Oh, that's a long time. I'm like, no, that's not a long time. 8 years is not a long time. Let me tell you why I'm saying what I'm saying. Here's what I've discovered in conversations. I know people who have divorced after 30 and 40 years of marriage. I'm going to just let it sink in. I'm going to let it sink in. I know this is a little bit rough right here. Just stay with me. 30 and 40 years. Children grown, grandchildren. You were married 30 years, you probably got grown grandkids, or pretty close. 30 and 40 years. My parents have friends who have divorced. And they were married 20, 30, 40 years. Think about this. What happened to the society that said, no, you stick it out? Now, I understand abuses and all those things. I'm not dismissing any of those things because I talked about that last week. But I want you to get in your mind people who have been together almost a lifetime, parting ways. I'm not talking about 5 years. I've done more than 5, 7. I've done more than 7. I mean long enough to have grown children and potentially almost grown grandchildren, if not grown grandchildren, are coming apart at the seams. People in their 70s and 80s have become so disenfranchised with what marriage looks like now that they're parting ways. So then I ask again, for those in long-term relationships, if marriages are falling apart, what in the world are you hoping for in a, quote, long-term dating? Whether you want to admit it or not, you can only call it dating. If you're not married, it's dating. Even if you're exclusive, it's still dating. It's still dating by definition. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me there's another word that somebody has created because they didn't like to hear themselves say, I'm in a long-term dating. I know we threw in the long term and then we threw in the word exclusive. You know, we're not dating other people. Oh, there's dating again. You can't get away from it. So you had to add the word exclusive, but there's still that word dating. So then go back to what I said. When you read these profiles of individuals who are single, who want to have that long-term exclusive, they want to have a long-term exclusive marriage? Well, you don't even have to use the words long-term and exclusive. You mean a long-term exclusive dating relationship? And for how long? You want to date exclusively for 2 years, 5 years? I know people who've done it. And well, Gabe, it's only a matter of whether they're happy or not. Is it really? Because when you get up to a certain age and you have to go to the hospital, unless you live in a common law state, which most are not common law, guess what? You can't go in the room unless you sign all kind of documentation. If you've got children, the children will have more rights than the long-term dating boyfriend or girlfriend. You're still classified as boyfriend and girlfriend. Which, by the way, I don't remember ever seeing on documents. So then you use words like, here's the game you play, exclusive, significant other. Significant other. Significant other, okay. +1, right? Significant +1, my bad. So I don't mean any disrespect if you, Gabe, I've been in this relationship 15 years, don't mess with my relationship. I'm not messing with, again, I don't know your situation. But I'm just asking the question, after 10 years, when you going to do something different? Well, why I got to do something different? Because as you get older, listen to me, as you get older, some of the legal ramifications of not having gotten married is going to show up and bite you in the backside. And I'm not just that. The fact is, you have a situation where at any given point, because you're not married, you could actually step away. You may not want to talk about, what did I say in the beginning of this thing? Even when it comes to marriage, people don't like touching these things. They don't like talking openly about them. Even I was hesitant to do it. And I talk about just about anything. Because it's almost taboo within our communities to really talk to people who are going through discord in long-term relationships. Long-term exclusion. We just feel like at least you're in a relationship, so hang in there and do what you got to do. No, let's talk about it. Let's chat. Let's really get down to some nitty-gritty here and understand some things. I'm not even surprised that we don't have as many people as we normally do, because this is taboo. Shocking, isn't it? People don't really like to talk about these subjects until their marriages is on the rocks and almost nigh beyond saving, and then they want to come find somebody like me or some counselor, and then they want to try to save something. When the whole time it's unraveling. And Living Color had a skit. Two people who were playing, the sister of the creator of the show, I can't remember her name. And then I think David Allie Greer, right? And the tagline is, we're still together. So when the people, when they were at home alone, they were fighting with each other, picking up skillets and brooms and you sow this and talking about each other. And then somebody would come in, a grandchild or a neighbor would come into the apartment And they would, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, or whatever that Jenkins or whatever it was. And don't we just, y'all just love each other? Oh yes. Oh yes, we still together. And as soon as the person would leave out of their apartment or home, they would be right back to fighting with each other. Now that's going back to the early 90s in living color. But that's how I see a lot of people's relationships from a distance. And of course, those whom I've given counsel to is they've got this, we're still together in the public, but they're about to kill each other in private. You know why? Because you don't touch people's marriages. You don't say anything. You don't even really help them. You just say, well, I'm praying for you. You know, marriage can be hard. Marriage can be hard. Okay. You know, and they crying out for help. You can see it on their faces in some cases, but not everybody hides it well. Hey girl, you all right? Oh, just, you know, he doing his thing. Oh, girl, you gonna be all right, girl. Yeah, all right. Hey, man, what's up? Oh, man, you know, she just nagging. You know, just the same old, same old. 20 years later, still? 30 years later, still nagging. Man, what's she nagging about now? Oh, man, you know, we don't even have to talk about it. I won't complain. Really? That's not actually the kind of marriage you should be in, despite popular belief. And let me just say to my Christian brothers and sisters, this is my moment here to do this. If you're under the impression, and I don't mean any disrespect, even to my father who actually believes some of this kind of thing, if you think your marriage is your cross to bear, you might want to read your Bible again, because you're completely and utterly and thoroughly wrong. Your marriage is not supposed to be a cross to bear. I'm not sure who told you that. I'm not sure who said that to you, but they lied to you. Your marriage is not a cross to bear. You're supposed to bear your cross together. You're supposed to be together. Not that you're going to always agree on everything, but a marriage that is, I'm speaking to my Christian brothers and sisters for a second, a marriage that is biblical is not we nagging and fussing and fighting with each other. Where do you see that in Scripture? Where do you get any depiction of that at all in Scripture? So let me undo what I know the churches of God in Christ did to many people, and I'm going to undo what many, even single individuals who want to get married, who believe that the wife is supposed to be nagging and the husband is supposed to be cheating. Or the husband is supposed to be lazy bum and the wife is supposed to be eating bonbons or whatever. She's supposed to spend all the money and he's supposed to be good for nothing and lose his jobs 10 times. Whatever that nonsense that people are thinking, let me just knock that down right now. Show me the chapter and the verse. Show me the book, chapter, verse where our marriage is supposed to be, or marriage is supposed, for those who are married, is supposed to be your cross to bear. Now, I'm not talking about if the person gets sick. That's one thing, because you're going through it together. Marriage is about to get married, to become one. So you're supposed to be together to become one together. So then how in the world is a proper marriage, even if you're not a Christian, how is a good, solid marriage one where you're working against each other? Can somebody explain? Somebody help me. Oh, but gay, no, I've been married. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And then you get this nonsense talking about irreconcilable differences. What the world? None of that stuff makes sense. But, you know, people like me, pastors, we just tell y'all, oh, you know, it's going to be some dark days. Yes, there's going to be dark days. And I believe it's what, Tamala Mann and David Mann, us against the world. That's technically how marriage is supposed to be. Technically, it's supposed to be you against you as one unit against the world. Even your children, no disrespect. Even your children are not supposed to have a say in your marriage. They're not supposed to. I don't care if they are the biological children of both parties or they are the biological children of one party. Your children are not supposed to have a say in your marriage at all. Where do you see that? Where you get that standard from, Christian or not? Okay, let me speak to the non-Christians. If your children, well, they were here before he got here. They were here before she got there. What does that got to do with your marriage? Your children is not grown or not. I don't care how much you love them. Well, my daughter is my bestie bestie. My son is my bestie bestie. Well, you better get a new bestie bestie. Your children is not supposed to have a say in your marriage. That is a union by choice. You had your children and they had no choice. But when you get married or you get engaged, or you get into a long-term dating exclusive relationship, and I know there are people who ain't gonna say nothing because y'all scared, but I know you don't agree with me, but you can't tell me, you can't provide for me the standard other than I just feel like my son or daughter should have something to say because you never know what'll happen to me. What in the world did you get married for? You don't trust this person to have your best interest at heart when you get sick. If you have a heart attack, you don't trust your wife or your husband. You trust your children more than you trust your decision to marry. You chose the person to marry, but you don't trust them when it comes down to sickness and health. You don't trust them. I don't trust them with my money. And some of y'all be bragging. Yeah, I ain't leaving them nothing. He got kids. She got kids from another relationship. They just go today. And when I die, it's all going to my children's and my grandchildren. You're bragging about that, but you chose to get in the marriage. Now, what did I say 10 minutes ago? You know why? Because society I don't believe society really supports a true marital long-term. You have people who have been married long-term, but I don't really think, and I'm talking to people who are 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, who might want to get into a relationship. I'm just going to be honest with you that this is just my opinion. By all means, get married if you want to. I don't think that society and the communities within this United States of America societal system really are going to support your long-term marital relationship. We would actually, and I say we because I'm in the country, I live here, but I would imagine, and ain't nobody going to talk to me, but I imagine, I'll talk to myself. I imagine that if you got grown kids, stay with me for a second, ladies, because I'm coming to you. If you got grown kids and you got a friend who's got grown kids, right? And then you get into a relationship, you dating John Doe, and you start dating him and it gets serious, girl, what your kids think? Well, my kids grown, girl, they out the house. Yeah, but you know our kids is our life. Yeah, you right. They was there when nobody else was there. Yeah, you right. Well, girl, if anything go wrong, I just turn to my kids. But are you going to get married? Of course. That is not a communication that's going to substantiate and support that marriage that's coming, if it ever happens. That is actually communication that's already saying, that person who is engaged is already saying, I am not going to be fully committed to my relationship, or I may not cheat on him or her, but I'm not going to be fully emotionally and mentally committed. So if they get out of pocket with what I want to see, I'm going to drop them like a bad habit, and I'm going to turn to my children who are off living their own lives. I'm going to go to my children who are off doing their things and trying to be in their own relationships. So understand, I'm not saying something that make you feel good. I'm saying what is real. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I've seen. I'm telling you what I've dealt with. Now, I ain't getting all into it deep, but understand the reality of it is I've dealt with this. I've dealt with it more than once. I was a stepdad. I've dealt with it. So understand, you getting married, and don't matter if the kids are grown. I had to deal with grown too. Had to deal with grown ladies. And the reason why you picking on us? Because typically you're the ones who end up raising your kids. Men seldom, now I know some who did, but men seldom get custody. So you're the one who ends up raising your kids. And if you raise your children to be positioned in a way with you where they have as much say as a potential spouse, why you want to get married? Or a potential a long-term exclusive dating boyfriend, why do you want to get into a long-term exclusive dating relationship? Why would you consider moving in together or whatever it is your standards? Why would you do that if you know you have your children there as your buffer so that when things ain't quite right, or your child or children, if things ain't quite right, you can kick him to the curb or her to the curb and roll back on your children? Oh, this deep. This deep. This deep. I may have to do two parts of this one. Again, the whole idea is we need to understand in our society how this works. And then we're confused that the divorce rate is through the roof. We're confused that the divorce rate has increased, is ever increasing. Why are we confused that the divorce rate is ever increasing? Which, by the way, proves my point about the fact that society at large is not supporting the longevity of these relationships. Society loves and applauds getting into them. Oh, I see it on my Facebook page, my timeline all the time. I see people getting into new relationships all the time. And if you've noticed, I never click like. I never do. I never say congratulations, and I never click like because I'm a hater. No, let me say something to you. I could be in a relationship, substantial, long-term relationship tomorrow. I could. So this ain't no hating. I could be in a long-term relationship tomorrow. Matter of fact, tonight, technically, have the conversation tonight and then make it real tomorrow. So I ain't hating on nobody. I'm single because I'm single. So this ain't about, and let's be real, ladies. Most of you know y'all could be in long-term relationships. You just keep telling them brothers no. Anyway, so the reality of it is, this ain't about hating. This ain't about hating. This is just about being real with it. The fact is, I see status changes all the time. I see it change all the time. Now, let me address those. Yeah, Gabe, that's why I don't change my status on Facebook. Why not? Why not? Are you so afraid that your relationship won't survive past your status change? You don't sound any different than the people who said it's the paper. It wasn't the marriage, it was the paper. It was the marital certificate. That's why, we ended up in divorce court because we got that marital certificate. That's what it was. Yeah, that piece of paper caused you to get a divorce. That's what it was. Or you just couldn't handle commitment, but you still want to be in a relationship. So you get the divorce and then you keep dealing with each other. Okay. Excuse my confusion. I'll have to work through that myself. Again, it's playing again. I don't mean any disrespect. There might be somebody who's watching this live or watching this back, who has been there, who was doing this, or you know people who was doing this. If you do, share this with them. Share it with them. Look, I tell you every week, the whole purpose of these videos is to help us to try to make, better choices. To try, exactly. Why you choose not to be in a relationship? Oh, I've talked about it already. I talked about it last week. You can catch my last week broadcast. I ain't got to do a whole broadcast. Catch last week. Yes, last week. It's right here. It's on the channel. It's on my YouTube page. Catch last week. The reality of it is, what you understand is that what you have is a lot of people who are coming into these relationships, long-term exclusive dating, fiance, and marriage, and they're not really doing their homework. Homework? Yeah, homework. So let's back up. So long-term exclusive dating, engagement, marriage, and there's probably some other ones in there that I don't know about, which I'm not going to confuse myself. So long-term exclusive dating relationship. Let me ask you a question. For those who want that, right? And for those who are in it, so you can start at any point. You may already be in one, or you may want to begin in one. Let me ask you a question. Have you really stopped, not just sat down and put your preferences? Good God. Preferences, preferences, preferences. Okay, you got your preferences? Cool. Okay, but let's back up. Not preferences. Do you really know yourself in terms of not what you like and dislike, but your character? Your character, who you are. Have you been honest with yourself in terms of a character assessment? A character assessment. So for example, if you're the type of man or woman who you know tends to be jealous, and you don't always, your history tells you, now this is going to get tough, but stay with me. Let me sit up on this. You know your history. If you're 35 years and older, you know you well enough to know. This ain't got nothing to do with what happened to you, but you've come to a point, if you're honest with yourself, do a self-assessment, and you know you have a tendency to, you got to have the cell phone numbers, you got to have access to all the email accounts, you got to be on the Facebook, you got to have everybody in that person's life know who you are, you got to be introduced even to the dead relatives. I mean, you know that you that deep where you got to be, you going to the gravesite, why can't I go? Who at the gravesite? You got to be introduced to the dead relatives as well as the living relatives. And hey, look, I got to be beating family within 6 months or this relationship ain't gonna work. If you know that about yourself, have you been honest with that? You have a jealous streak. And are you fully prepared to tell whoever is showing interest in you as they get close to you and you're comfortable, hey, look, I'm going to just tell you right now, because of some hurts or whatever the case may be, no matter what you're laying the blame on, are you willing to say, look, I'm a little on the jealous side. I'm just going to tell you now. And if you have, I got some trust issues. There's some things that I haven't worked through. I'm trying to help you. There's some things I haven't worked through. And you know what? We've been together for 6 months. And honestly, I get nervous when I see you on the phone, when I see you texting, when I see you standing there talking to that man or woman, I get nervous. And then give them the opportunity, whether you are in the relationship now or you want to get into the relationship, are you willing to be honest about your character flaws so that you give the person who potentially wants to be in a relationship with you, or you are in a relationship in, the opportunity to say, I can and cannot handle that? Or are you so afraid not to end up in a relationship or to lose the relationship you are in that you end up trying to hide something like jealousy? Having dealt with that directly, please understand when it says jealousy is as cruel as the grave, yes, that's a character flaw that you know to be true about yourself. You know it. You know it, men. Ladies, when he says things like, why you dressed like that? Oh, I'm just going to work. Well, you don't normally get dressed up like that. Why are you dressed up like that now? Where are you going? He is letting you know indirectly he's got a jealousy issue. And that's a great time for y'all to do an assessment of each other and say, we need to talk about something. What do you mean? You keep questioning why I'm dressing certain ways, who I'm talking to when you see me on the phone. You're not comfortable around me, but I don't think it's me. I think something's going on with you. This should happen before you ever consider getting into a long-term dating relationship. I have people talking about, I don't like drama, but they'll overlook that. That's drama. That's drama waiting to happen. That's drama waiting to happen. So what did you do this weekend? Because I kept calling you. I kept texting. I didn't hear from you. What happened? I just wanted to know if you were okay. I just wanted to know if you were okay. That's a lie. It's a lie. They're jealous. Point blank. They're jealous and they're insecure. And they're saying, I just wanted to know if you're okay. Wait a minute. You ain't my mama. I'm not trying to be your mama. You ain't my daddy. I'm not trying to be your daddy. I was just concerned about you. I've been through this. So you best believe when I get into a relationship, and I'm going to get into a relationship, you better believe I'm going to get married again. Listen to me. And let me just tell y'all now, I'm gonna be a different kind of dude. I'm gonna drive y'all crazy with pictures. I'm gonna change my status. I'm gonna have so many selfies of us together. I'm gonna be taking 400, 500, 600 pictures, and I'm gonna be sharing all the intimate details. We went over here. We went to the grocery store and we bought some ice cream, and she looked like this and I looked like this. Oh, I'm gonna drive y'all nuts. I'm gonna tell you now, I'm gonna drive y'all crazy. When the time comes to get in a relationship, I'm going to drive you insane. But until then, let's talk. So the reality of it is that's a major character flaw. How about this one? Terrible with money. Terrible. Terrible. That's something you got to have a discussion about if you want to get into a long-term exclusive relationship unto marriage. But I know people even in their 50s and 60s and 70s, and they don't want to talk. They don't want to have those discussions because they feel like they're secure enough financially that they're never going to really let that person be a part of their life. I got enough of my own so they don't have to be a part. So what do you want to get into a long-term exclusive relationship for in the first place? I'm asking it again. Why do you want to get into a long-term exclusive relationship if you don't want that person to be a part of your life in total? Because that's what it's about. I'm telling you right now, I have no interest in being with anybody when the time comes that only wants me to be a part of their romantic life. They only want me to be a part of their traveling life. Let's go to Cancun and cruises. But Gabe, don't talk to me about my money. Don't talk about my future. Don't talk about my house. Don't talk about my children. Don't talk about my grandchildren. Don't talk about my job. Don't touch nothing. That's mine. But you can touch me. I have no desire whatsoever. And I get the feeling that decent men, that good men have gotten really quiet and they don't say anything because, ladies, what's being communicated is your life is absolutely perfect and all you want is just somebody to be around when you're ready to cuddle and when you're ready to travel and when you're ready to eat dinner and when you're ready to do what you want to do. You said, okay, now let's have this long-term exclusive and be exclusive to me, man. Only be exclusive to me. But only be there when I want you to be there. Otherwise, get out of my face. My life is good. My life is drama-free. I got my children, my grandchildren, my job, my friends, my travel, my money, my this, my that. Only come around when I just need to feel like I'm in a relationship. Otherwise, bounce. Again, society is not supporting actual coming together in actual long-term exclusive, get on your nerves, bug you relationships. Marital discord relationships. Boyfriend, girlfriend, why you bugging me relationships. Where you have to work through something together and build a genuine bond because you suffer through things together. My parents have been together 50 years, which includes the death of my grandfather on both sides, grandmother on my mother's side. My dad's mom died when he was 5 or 6 years old. That means a brother who's passed. And if they live long enough, there's going to be other family members who pass. They've been through coronavirus together. They've been through the 60s and the 70s together. Well, late 60s, 70s together and all the stuff that went on in the 70s together and raising kids together and all the stuff we put them through. So you have to understand that you don't know me. That's okay. Miss Cooper, just stay with me. Watch my other videos. You don't know me. So you have to understand that this is a very serious matter. Do you really want to be in a long-term exclusive? Well, Gabe, I already am. Yeah, but is it really long-term and exclusive? Not just you're together and you've been around each other for 10 years, but are you really actually in a relationship where you are engaging each other to the point where even when it hurts, you're willing to share those truths with each other because you really want your bond to be stronger. See, here's the thing. The word relationship is what's missing from these relationships. Relate, coming together and interaction. I know people have been married 50 years and they don't talk to each other. Don't talk to each other. Don't talk to each other. And we all know probably a couple like that. They've been together for decades. They don't like each other. But hey, we married, we ain't going nowhere. Now, I don't know about you, but that don't look like a relationship to me. That just looks like two people who are cohabitating. And if you talk to enough people, which of course I do because of what I do for a living, some people aren't even sleeping in the same rooms. Been together for decades. Come on, come on. Am I wrong? They don't even sleep in the same rooms. And it ain't because of health. They don't like each other. And they've made arrangements within the confines of their relationship to not have to actually relate to each other. They don't even have to relate to each other. They no longer even have to really have a conversation. Hey, what you gonna eat tonight? Oh, I already got some food. Yeah, I already got some food. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. So the reality of it is, read my page, Mr. Cooper, read my page. You'll see what I do. So the reality of it is you have these situations, and then again, people who are single, we're looking at them thinking, oh wow, 30 years, 40 years, oh, that's so wonderful. Oh, that's so wonderful. They ain't telling the truth. They're not telling the truth. They're not telling people what's really going on unless you're close enough. Because of what I do, I'm able to hear the discord, not that I want to. Not that I want to. There's a couple right now in California that I'm working with, been together 20 years. 4 kids, if I'm not mistaken, between them. 20 years. So much hurt, so much pain, so much frustration that is flowing back and forth. And unfortunately, one party is not really interested in really fixing it. Stay with me. I'm almost done. Because in the confines of these, what did I tell you in the beginning? For those who weren't there, go back and listen. There really isn't any real support, and I don't think society really supports the longevity of these relationships. So when they've reached out to marriage counselors and so on and so forth, they haven't actually been supported. I hate to say it. I live in Louisiana. They live in California. So it's not convenient for me to be able to sit down with them, which is what I need to do, and help them. So I talk with the husband. He's a friend of mine. But the reality of it is they both need to be able to have individual counsel so that they can begin to work through the individual things. Because understand, if you're in a long-term exclusive dating relationship, you are a fiance or you're married, you are still, watch this great revelation, an individual. You're still actually just yourself. You don't somehow blend in and become them. The wife doesn't become the husband. The husband doesn't. You can finish each other's sentences. That's so cute. Isn't it? It's cute. That's cute. He finishes her sentence. Oh, that's so nice. But that don't mean you become her. She doesn't become you. Sometimes you can get to that point where you just, it's called automacy from my psychology studies. It's called automacy, where you're basically on autopilot. We're going to eat, this is Tuesday, so we get chicken. Okay, and then on Wednesday, we're going to spend some intimate time. We're going to watch our weekly movie. And then we're going to go to bed at 5 o'clock, and then we're going to get up and just you're on automatic pilot. Again, we've all seen relationships and maybe have been in those relationships. We haven't even started talking about abuses. We haven't started talking about cheating. We haven't started talking about any of those things that tend to be overt things. This is why we use this thing in America called irreconcilable differences. Is that irreconcilable? No, you can reconcile that. You can even reconcile people cheating. Believe it or not, for those who well, it may be a deal breaker for you, but there are those who've gone through it and their marriages survived and they have healthy marriages. Whether you believe it or not is neither here or there, but I know from what I do for a living, people who have made it through a lot of confession, a lot of truth telling, a lot of getting real and honest. You can survive that. If you're in a marriage right now and that's happened, listen to me. You can survive that. But you cannot play the blame game if you're in a marriage or a long-term relationship. I'm not trying to exclude them. If you're in a long-term dating relationship, you've got to be honest with yourself about the reality. Let me say this and let me get done. So first of all, if you're in a long-term dating relationship, you have to forever understand that you don't have any legal ramification for your relationship. None. What many people I know have done over the years is do things like buy a house together. But the problem with a house, you can sell a house. So we don't want to get married, but what we'll do is buy a high price ticket item, basically is what they call it. And we'll try to use that to hold us together. So on one hand, we acknowledge that if we buy this, we're in this together in terms of the home. But on the same token, watch this, we're also acknowledging that we don't have a foundational relationship that's strong enough to, if the house blew away in a hurricane, we would still be together. I'm just letting it sink. So we literally have to go buy houses and cars together to try to hold together. Or have a child together, depending on your age. Maybe if we have a child together, we'll stay together, but we don't want to get married. Again, I ask, what's the point? I personally believe you're just playing a game. I really do. I think you're just playing a game. I think you're trying to use things. I think you're trying to use material goods. And yet what's so fascinating to me, most of the people that I talk to who want the long-term dating exclusive relationship, but they are jaded about marriage, they will tell you, I have my own. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Men and women. I have my own. I don't need anything from anybody, but you want to have someone in your life. And let me say to Christians, you are praying to God, listen to me, to send you a whole human being who will come to you with a whole life. And you think God is going to sanction you to be in a full-on committed relationship with someone that you are not actually connected to? That when you go through the elements of your life, they're not even connected. You think God is going to sign off on that? You are fooling yourself. Book, chapter, verse. Give it to me. Book, chapter, verse. I've only read the Bible through 6 times. Help me understand, where is it at? Because I know husbands love your wives. I know wives submit to husbands. In verse 21 of chapter 5 of Ephesians says, submit to one another. But I don't see anywhere in there where it says, well, live together, but you don't have to really be under each other's covering. Just be together. Hey, go on some trips. Hey, have some great sex. Hey, occasionally cuddle and you're good. Where you read that at? And even for those of you who are not believers, what book you reading? Who you talking to? What psychologist? What psychiatrist? I know that world too. So who are you talking to? Who are you talking to that's telling you it's okay to have a completely distinct life as long as you have some measure of intimacy? And what happens when that goes awry? What happens when the man gets high blood pressure and hypertension and he's taking medicines like Lostratan and so he's suffering from erectile dysfunction? What happens? What happens? Okay, if he just go get some Cialis and he just go get some, what if he has heart issues and he can't take that medicine? But you're not married. That's a little plain, huh? You didn't think I could do it? I'm high blood pressure sufferer. I took the medicine. My doctor told me, I wasn't married at the point, but my doctor said, yes, if you get married, this medicine can cause erectile dysfunction. Anybody dealing with a black man who's not healthy, who is above the age of 40, you know what I'm saying to be true. We are some of the highest sufferers. So you're in this long-term exclusive dating relationship, Gabe. It ain't all about sex. Who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? Who are you joking with? So your life hasn't come together. All you got is the intimacy. So then, well, Gabe, it ain't about that. So then y'all just friends. If you're even friends, you're just acquaintances. You're just hanging out with each other. Y'all are more like brother and sister. Y'all just have a little bit of attraction, some weird attraction to each other. I mean, again, what games are we playing? Again, are we not seeing that this does not support and substantiate a solid foundation for a good long-term relationship? This doesn't support it. Now, I know many people who are widows, who were with their husbands or wives when they passed. I'm not talking to y'all. But I'm talking to those who are in marriages, who are engaged, who are dating long-term exclusive. And what game? Are you playing games with yourself? Are you being real? If you're in a marriage, well, Gabe, we've been together too long now. It don't matter. It does matter. My last little subject here, because there may be children. Let me talk a little bit about the children, because you may have children and grandchildren. And what you don't understand, but I unfortunately know from conversations, and I know having been a stepdad, is that those children are far more affected by what's going on in your marriage than you really probably want to be honest about. Let me take my time right here, because this is serious. If you think you are keeping your long-term dating relationship away from your children in terms of the struggles, you are lying to yourself. Well, they're never around us when we're together. You don't think that when you leave out of the company of your boyfriend and girlfriend, and y'all had an argument, that doesn't play out before your children? You don't think that after you get off the phone, after one of those heated moments, and one of your children or grandchildren walk into your company, even though you may be able to regather and then say, hey, they don't see your facial expression? You don't think that that little innocent little granddaughter walks up, Grandma, what's wrong? Oh, nothing, baby. What happens when they're 18, 19, 20, and they come to ask you for advice, relationship advice? Because they want to have a relationship just like you and your long-term boyfriend or your fiance or your husband or your wife. They want to have a relationship like you, but you know the truth. They don't know the truth. Your children and your grandchildren are watching you. I'll tell you this, and I'm done. I told my dear friend in California, the one I told you, just mentioned about briefly, I told him, man, you do marry your mother or your father, whether you like it or not. My first marriage, out the box, I married somebody who was like my mother at that time. Like my mother at that time. Unfortunately, my mother was not in a good place. I love her dearly, but she was not in a good place. And I didn't know how much impact my mother not being at a good place had on my perception of what a woman was or was to be. And so when that came to me, because she pursued me, but when that came to me, I went for it because that's what I knew. Are y'all hearing me? Yeah, but Gabe, I'm afraid that my children may have seen my brokenness and broken marriage. You're scaring me. I'm not trying to scare you. Maybe you need to have, if you haven't done it, some heart-to-heart conversations. You need to sit them down, and now maybe they're fully grown, but you got grandkids who saw that last dating relationship you were in, and it lasted 2 or 3 years, and they came on Thanksgiving, and they came at Christmas, and I won't get into all that, grown people stuff, and so they saw y'all interact with each other, and they saw when that relationship suddenly fell apart, and they saw, because they're on your Facebook page, now they're grown, and they see when the relationship status changed, but you don't want to tell them what's wrong, but they notice now, mama or daddy ain't no longer in a relationship. And you keep thinking that you're hiding it from them. And if you got grown kids who have been married and divorced, you really ain't hiding nothing. Because let me tell you what I know. They now know potentially what you went through because they've gone through it. They have some idea of what you potentially suffered or what you may have caused your mate to suffer. It's high time that we stop in our communities, stop trying to act like our children are never going to be grown. They're going to get grown. They're going to get married if they are not already married. They're going to have children. And if you have a legacy of not communicating the hard truths of life and showing them that they can overcome it, because maybe you haven't, what do you think they're going to do? What do you think they're going to do? They're going to marry you. Ladies, if you have sons, and maybe you were not in a previous relationship very upbeat and very, very forgiving and very loving towards your husband, maybe because that's not what you saw. I understand. My mother didn't see that with my grandparents who were together 60 years or whatever it was. She didn't see that. But the reality of it is, it didn't change the fact that unfortunately, because she didn't see it, she brought it into her marriage with my father. And so guess what her children saw? Her sons saw her responding. And both her sons married women very similar to who she was then. Now I keep saying then because she's not that now. But then she wasn't very warm. She was, even as a mother, she wasn't very warm. She wasn't very endearing. It wasn't, oh, come here, I love you. Oh no, she took care of us. We were sick. Make no mistake. She took care of us. Make no mistake. But there are things that came out of her. She didn't realize that we were going to grow into grown men, and that what she was teaching us and modeling for us, not just as our mom, she was also modeling as a woman. I know this is tough. I know, because you're thinking about how you raised your kids. I know. And you think, no, but Gabe, I bought them everything. No, but you also modeled relationship. You modeled engaging as a man and a woman, socializing. And if you are in one of those relationships right now, even if your kids are 20 and 30 years old or 40 years old, if you see them in marriages and they're struggling, I promise you what I'm telling you right now is part of the reason. What I'm telling you right now is part of the reason. Gabe, are you blaming me for their struggles? What did I say? Society. Aren't you in the society? Aren't you in their community? Aren't you a part of their thinking? Didn't you raise them? Now, my son is 11. He's in his room, sleep. But you best believe I am going to snap this with him. So I don't bring a ton of people around him, men or women, really. And I've already said I need to change that. But as time goes on, I need to continue to develop healthy relationships with women. And listen to me carefully. I don't mean any disrespect. I'm not talking about any particular woman. It's got to be women who are upbeat. It's got to be women who are congenial. His mom is very upbeat, very congenial. It's got to be women like that, because he's going to look at his mother. He's going to look at his aunties on both sides. He's going to look at his grandmother who's still alive. He's going to look at the women that I may introduce him to, socially speaking. And he's going to gauge the kind of woman that he thinks he can get along with based on, in particular, who his dad is dealing with. You understand what I'm saying? I am dead serious about this. And if you think I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Look at your grown children, for those who have them, and you know they've had struggles in relationships, and get honest with yourself about this. I'm over my time, but I want you to get honest with yourself. Is it possible that part of their struggle is that they actually are modeling what they saw when they were growing up? Is it possible that even though they may be married and we had a great wedding, I see it on your pages, I see the wedding photos and the newborn grandchildren. Oh, and I say, oh, that's precious, 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 precious. But what did I tell you? Society has no problem with us getting into relationships, but society doesn't seem to be very interested in us staying in them. Doesn't seem to be very interested. So some of you watch The Red Table, Entanglement, right? Oh, but Gabe, oh, no. I watched because it's got so much press. I actually watched that Red Table. Now they got back together. They got grown kids. You're right. But society doesn't seem to encourage some of your favorite actors and actresses, some of your favorite athletes. Come on, be honest. Be honest. Now, you notice those people who've been married for a long time in Hollywood, like Denzel Washington and others, they don't really put their marriage out there for everybody to get their hands on. They don't. Anybody catch what I'm saying? The people who have been successfully, Samuel L. Jackson been with his wife for decades. The people who have been married to their spouses for long time in Hollywood, and athletes and things like that, they don't really put their marriage out there. Why? Because society does not really support those marriages. I hate to tell you that because I live in society. So, Gabe, why did you do this broadcast? Because I support your marriage. because I support your marriage. Because I'm for your marriage. I'm for your relationship. I'm for you as a person who wants to get engaged. Call me. Let's talk. Let's work through some things. If you have some apprehensions, it may be just you. It may be because of what's being caused by your spouse. I can't cover all the things I want to cover on these broadcasts. An hour really isn't long. That's why I end up going over. But understand me, you can have a healthy relationship. And if your goal is not a healthy relationship, but just a relationship, dismiss all these broadcasts you ever see me do. If you just want to be in a relationship because you just want somebody to cuddle with every once in a while and call, you want to take some selfies and go on some exotic vacations together, hey, you do you. You do you, boo. Ain't that the phrase? Do you, boo. But if you are in a relationship or you would like to be in a relationship and you really want to have one that's healthy, and you don't want it to become unhealthy or to be unhealthy, at least because of you. Now, you can't do anything maybe about the person you're dealing with unless they're willing to talk to me as well. Let's talk. Let's talk. I don't have to be your pastor. I am a pastor. That's it. Let's talk. Let's have a real hard conversation. Let's get healthy. Let's get free from those things from previous times and circumstances. Let's get healthy. Let's get healthy. I have good relationships with all the individuals I was married to, with the exception of the one who passed. She's passed. So, but before she passed, we could talk on the phone and laugh and joke and talk. I don't have issues with any woman on this planet. None of my family, my son's mother and I, we laugh, we joke, we're friends. Healthy relationship. Healthy. Listen to me, ladies. Healthy. You want men who can tell you that they have legitimate, healthy relationships with, if their mother is still alive. Hey, what kind of relationship you have with your mother? I wish I could go deeper because there's so much to uncover in that, but I'm not going to do it. So he want to get married? Cool. He think you the best thing since sliced bread? That's wonderful. Ask him the question, do you have healthy relationships with your female coworkers? Do you have healthy relationships with your female neighbors? Do you have healthy relationships with the first lady of your church? And if you are a pastor, do you have a healthy relationship with the members of the church? Do you have healthy relationships with, if you are an employer, with your female employees? Same thing, fellas. Same thing. Do you have healthy, balanced relationships with the opposite sex? And for those who are in those relationships already, ask yourself, do you have healthy, balanced relationships with the opposite sex, in so much as starting with your own spouse? And if you know you don't, you are ripe for that thing called infidelity. And I'm not going to go into it. Like I told you, there's so much to talk about, but infidelity. And infidelity, 99% of the time, does not start. Okay, you just got here. I've been married 3 times. So infidelity does not start with just simply somebody who want to go off and have this, that, and the other. No, infidelity starts with the infidelity here. Infidelity starts here for men and women. It starts here. It's when you start drifting. It's when you start saying grass is greener on the other side. It's when you start feeling like, man, this is an uphill battle. Again, people who want to be in a relationship don't want to be in a relationship where they're fighting against the person they're in a relationship with. So infidelity at its root is somebody trying to find a happier situation. Not just physical interaction, a happier situation. Listen to what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. People who end up in extramarital circumstances are trying to find happier situations, and it's not always on the basis of the physicality of the relationship itself. They are unhappy. Now, their unhappiness may be in themselves. I'm not saying that you or whoever is the cause, but what I am saying is they're always trying to find some place of happiness, and they are infidelis in their pursuit. Make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. I had to say that. Had to get that in. So I got to leave it here. There's so much. Again, reach out. Let's talk. Let's work through some things. I'm going to do the same thing I'm doing now. Understand? I'm going to say things to you to make you think. I'm going to say things to you that's going to probably be a little tough, but the whole idea is to get you thinking. is to get, now if you want to stay in the state you're in, hey, you want to get married, but you don't really want to deal with truth, there are plenty of men and women out there who are exactly the same way. I know from experience. They don't want to deal with truth. You don't want to deal with truth. Do your thing. But for those who want to deal with truth, let's talk. Let's work through some things together. I promise you, after 27 and a half years of doing this, I promise you, we can help you get through some things. And I could tell you names, but I haven't got their permission of people who have watched these broadcasts. I've talked to directly, and they are pursuing healthy relationships. Now, again, I haven't talked to their spouses or to their fiancés or whatever. So it's not balanced. But if, as a matter of fact, especially if you're in a relationship, contact me, hit me up on Messenger. Let's work out a time to talk. Let's talk and let's help you get there. I've done this long enough. I'm not bragging. I will help you get there if you want to get there. Now, you may end up in a relationship with somebody, and I've been there, who didn't want to get there. That's a whole nother conversation, but we need to have that privately. All right. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for staying with me a little longer than our normal time. Share this out. Get this to others. Now, I see people asking me questions about me. Understand what you're asking me is all this stuff that's dealt with. I've been single 5.5 years. So all that stuff is done. Done. My first marriage came at 19 years old. I'll be 47 in 2 months. So 2.5 months, give or take. So understand that's all past, all done, finished, rolling forward. To answer the question, I am a full-time pastor. So that's my background, and I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. So now you know. Go check me out on my page. All of that's right there for you to see. But I'm here really just to talk to you as Gabe. I'm not here as pastor. I'm here to talk to you as Gabe, who's got experiences, who's been through some things, who's been listening to you and care about you. I care about what you're going through. If you want to stay single, that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But if you really want to be in a relationship, and you are, and you just wanted to make it stronger, don't stop. Come on. Let's talk, and let's talk about how to make it stronger. And let me say this especially, if you're dealing with jealousy issues, we really need to talk. And you're in a relationship, long-term dating, engaged or married, especially if you're engaged, please contact me. If you're struggling with jealousy issues, please contact me. We need to have a serious conversation, because I just don't think you should get married and carry your jealousy issues because that's just unfair. It's just unfair. All right, enough of that. Have a great night. Until next week, we'll be back next Thursday, and then we're done, because then we'll have the holidays. So next Thursday, same time, same channel. Till then.